Hey guys, my name's Alana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about depression and ways to cope with it. And this is just my personal advice and my personal experience. So everybody does experience depression and mental illness differently. So obviously it will differ from each person. But for me, I'm just going to say some of the tips that I've found have helped me. And yeah, hopefully it will help you as well. So number one, which is my first tip, is to acknowledge and to accept the feelings that you're having. And this is actually really important because I think a lot of the time when you're experiencing depression or anxiety or whatever, like anger or whatever mental illness you're struggling with, often you can feel really guilty and like bad for having those feelings, and you can be really down on yourself and just have even worse negative self-talk, which should just make everything like you're gonna feel even worse. So I would say the best thing to do is just to acknowledge that you're having those feelings, acknowledge that you feel depressed, acknowledge that, you know, I'm not feeling great and that's okay. And you don't have to be fine all the time. So just acknowledge the feelings and accept them, because once you can do that, you can actually think of ways to combat it and actually get yourself out of it in a way. Now, number two would be to talk to somebody. This is important as well because it can really help sometimes to talk to someone. This could just be like your friend, or maybe you've got like a teacher or your parents, or just somebody in your life who is kind of always there for you that you can talk to, and you don't even have to say exactly what's going on. You could just, you know, ring them or give them a text and just say, oh, how are you going? Like, you don't have to tell them whatever is going on if you don't feel like it. You can just have a chat with them, or you know, maybe ring like a family member or something and just have a nice talk, and that can often make yourself feel a lot better. And yeah, there's also resources online, like online counseling. There is Beyond Blue have an online web chat, so do Headspace. They have eHeadspace, which are opened, Lifeline, Childline, a lot of those websites, all those mental health websites, they have like contact details where you can either ring and talk to like a counselor or like a mental health worker. You can send them an email, or you can talk to them over a chat. And I have personally used the chat thing on quite a few of these websites, and they have really helped me. Nearly all of them have been really good, but I would recommend the eHeadspace one the best, because if you live in Australia, that would be the best one, I think, because they really do give you good advice. That one and Beyond Blue I found probably the most helpful, and you can just like contact them and stuff, and you can just like have a chat to like one of the mental health workers and talk to them about what's going on and how you're feeling, and they can be really helpful. They can give you resources, they can tell you what they think you should do, they can just talk to you. You know, often I find that that really helps me as well, just to talk to somebody who isn't emotionally connected and who just understands mental health in general. So number three ties into this, and this is more of a long-term solution, and this is to go to therapy and get some counseling. Now this is really, really important. I would say this is probably one of the most important things out of all the points I'm saying today, because therapy really does help, guys. And you may have like had a bad experience, and I know personally, like I've had a couple, like I've had some bad experiences where it's put me off, but you just have to keep going and keep trying until you find like a psychologist or a psychiatrist or therapist that you really like and that you feel like understands you and is helping you. And I would just say to, yeah, get into therapy. You know, you can go to your doctor and do all that. If you want me to make a separate video on how to get like help for mental health, I can do that. Just comment down below. But yeah, I would say like therapy is so good, because you can just go and talk to somebody about your feelings, about what's going on, and you learn all these tools and strategies and skills of how to help yourself, so that when you do get depressed, because you know, if you have depression, it's not just gonna magically go away, you know, and you can do heaps of stuff to try to help yourself and it'll improve it, but you still gotta know how to cope and how to deal when these episodes hit and stuff. So I would really recommend therapy. I found it so helpful, and just learning all these tools and like tips of what to do just in those times we feel really distressed, that could be really helpful. And then you have something you can kind of fall back on, and just something you can help yourself with, because that's like the whole goal of this. So Another thing I want to say about therapy is that there's also a lot of different types of therapy. So you may have tried one and you didn't like it, but just try a different one. There are quite a lot of different types of therapy. Off the top of my head, I can think of DBT, CBT, schema therapy. There's like even art therapies. There's more, but I just can't think of them right now. But there are so many therapies that you could try. So I would encourage you to try a few different ones out and see what you like, because one thing will not work for the same person, you know. So everyone is unique, everyone is different, everyone has different mental illness and different symptoms. So you really need to find like something that you feel like helps you. Number 4 is to set small goals for yourself. Now, when you're feeling depressed, you know, it's so hard to even get motivation to do anything. And, you know, like even getting up and just doing simple basic things can become a challenge and become really overwhelming and really hard. And I find like just setting some small goals, maybe the night before, will help you, because then at least when you get up, you can look at like a small, this doesn't have to be like a long list because that could be stressful, but just maybe put a few dot points down, maybe on your diary like the night before. And this is what I do, and I'll just write a few things, like maybe it'll be clean the kitchen, and maybe I need to do something for my online business, so I'll write that down. And then if I do that and I feel like, oh, you know, I'm actually feeling better, or I'm feeling like I can tackle some more things, then I'll add more to the list. But don't start with like a massive list. Don't put heaps of pressure. Just put a few things down, and if you can do it, that's great. If you can't, that's all right. You can try again the next day. And having these small goals make it really, really good, because then you've got something to do for the day and you have motivation. It kind of gives you a bit of motivation and a bit of purpose for that day. And I know you may be thinking, wow, cleaning the house, like that isn't really important, but it's kind of part of looking after yourself. And when you're depressed, like you don't want to do that. You don't really care about your house. You don't really care about yourself. You don't really care how you look. You know, that can just be how it is. And I feel like to get out of that, it's really good to have like a few little goals in place that can be there for you, just so that you can look at it and have some inspiration and like just a bit of a push of what to do. And I found this has been really good for me. I got a diary this year, and I've just been using it and making sure like I've been writing some things in it that I need to do. And then you can look over that day and you can say, oh, that was great. Like I cleaned the kitchen, you know, and you can feel proud of yourself that you actually did something. And the same goes with number 5, which is to look after yourself and practice self-care. And I'm not just talking about like do a face mask or like wash your hair, like that is good, but I'm talking about doing something that you really enjoy. So find something that actually makes you happy. And when you struggle with depression, it can be really hard to find enjoyment in things, and stuff that you like just you don't find interesting anymore, and you just don't have the motivation. But I would encourage you to just try like finding one project, one small thing that you can do that makes you happy, that can kind of distract you from your thoughts and your emotions, and that you can just put your energy into. So for me, this is definitely music. I really love playing my guitar and singing, and that is something that I really struggle to do when I feel depressed. Like usually I don't want to do that, but I find if I just push myself to do it, I really do feel better, and it helps me, and I do get enjoyment out of it. And the same goes for my online business. I'm very creative, so I like to create jewelry. So that is a good thing because it keeps your mind busy, and you can watch TV or do something else while you're creating. And it's just kind of like a healthy way of getting your emotions out and just creativity. So with things like drawing, coloring, everyone has their own thing. You know, and even things like exercise, like you don't have to do like this massive thing or even go to the gym. You can literally just do a couple of stretches. Or maybe you feel like just going for a walk around your block. And if you have a dog, that'd be great to take your dog out, you know, spend some time with your pet. Just things like that can be so helpful and just really kind of just comforting to you, which is what you really need in this time. And number 7 is to spend time with family and friends. And this is something that I put down because I feel like this is really helpful when you're feeling like isolated, which is what can happen when you are feeling depressed. You know, you don't really want to talk to people, you don't want to be with people, and it's really easy to, and especially with anxiety as well and other mental illnesses, especially if you have more than one, it can be so hard to socialize, and socializing often is one of the first things that just goes like out the window because you really just don't care and you don't want to be around people. And I can totally relate, especially as I'm an introverted person as well, so having that plus depression and anxiety just makes it so much worse. But I would really encourage you to just try to spend some time with at least one friend. Maybe just every week you could meet up with like one friend, and it doesn't have to be like this massive thing. It could literally just be like you just want to go and have coffee with your friend, maybe at a cafe that you feel comfortable at where there's not heaps of people. Or if you don't feel like you can go out of the house, like if you can't, I think maybe if you could ask your friend to come over, and maybe if you just sat and watched movies, like I find that so good because then you're just relaxing and you can just spend time with your friend. Or this goes the same with family, and you can just have a nice time with them, and it often cheers you up. And if you feel like talking about things with the person, you can, but if you don't want to, you know, you can just spend some quality time with them, and I'm sure they would really appreciate it as well. So that's something else I would encourage you to do. And if you're finding this really difficult, I would recommend like having somebody else kind of set things up for you. So you could ask a parent or somebody to maybe contact like another family member or one of your friends if you feel like you're not up to it, and just ask them if they want to catch up with you. And there's, you know, like there's lots of ways to kind of get a bit of socializing in that isn't too intense, because I know at that time you can just feel really overwhelmed and it can be hard to socialize. But I would really recommend just like small little catch-ups with people. That would be really healthy for you and definitely helpful. And number 8, which is my last point, this is to take medication. And I put this down as the last point. I would recommend this because personally it's helped me. I'm not saying that everyone should do that. This is totally up to you. Like everyone has their own opinion when it comes to medication, so I don't want to like I'm not pushing anybody. This is just what personally has helped me. But I have found antidepressants to really help. And yeah, they're not like the magic cure, don't take me wrong on that, but they do definitely help just give you that bit of extra push, and it kind of pulls you above the water when you're drowning, you know, and it just gives you that little bit of extra help and support. And I found this combined with therapy and having a good support system and having things in place has really helped me. So medication, if you want to go down that path, I would recommend it because it has been so helpful. No medication doesn't work for everybody, and you may have to try a few medications. I was really lucky that I only had to try one antidepressant and it was actually fine, like it worked really well. But I know a lot of people have had some really bad times with medicine and they get really bad side effects. I personally didn't really get many side effects and they weren't really bad, but it all depends on your body and what illness you have. There's different medications, but I would recommend if you have depression, like if your doctor, you know, wants to, you know, put you on some medicine, I reckon it's a really good idea. I used to be very opposed to this just because I was kind of felt like it was like I was failing and like I was weak for doing it. But there's no failure in it. You're not weak. This is just like an extra crutch, like a support system. And you know, there is no shame in taking this. This is an illness and you have every right to seek treatment and to get help, and you are worthy of help and you're worthy of treatment and love and support. So I just wanted to say that because yeah, medication has definitely helped me, and I know a lot of other people it's really helped. And honestly, I don't know where I would be if I hadn't, you know, started on medication. Because things can get really tough and really hard. So sometimes you do just need that extra support, and a good doctor will monitor you and make sure that everything's going okay, because, you know, obviously there can be some side effects and it isn't for everyone. But that was just what I thought. So I hope you guys liked this video. Please leave a comment down below, like if you have any other tips, because I'd love for us all to share tips about different mental illnesses and just like different tips on how to help yourself and cope with an illness. And if you'd like to comment that, please do. You can follow me on all my social medias, which are linked down below. I also have a blog page and an online boutique called Alana Boutique. I sell jewelry and clothing, so typically like grunge and bohemian styles. If you'd like to check that out, I'm on the Depop app, so if you want to go follow that, I'm also on Pinterest. And yeah, so hope you guys have a great rest of the day and that you keep yourself safe and just have like a really nice afternoon. So bye guys.